Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, time for another review. I already recorded this one, but my camera decided to give up on me for some reason. But let's try again, why don't we? Today we'll be looking at this headphone, the V-Moda M100. This has been quite a popular headphone at the moment in the hi-fi community. For different reasons, most of them good reasons. It comes in this box, which is quite a cool looking box. Comes with a fake leather strap up here with two rivets on. Opens with this latch, which is also a leather strap with a rivet on it, with a button there. And then inside you'll find a foam inlay under which the headphones will be, and all your different materials on top. It comes with a red silk strap here that you cut over and then cut open when you open the headphones up, just to verify that they're new. Inside you'll find this case, which is probably one of the best cases on the market at the moment. It's a hard case, quite hard in fact. The only thing I think that will ruin it is probably running a truck over it, or maybe jumping on it. But any reasonable amount of pressure it will take. You can throw it into a bag and not worry at all. I mean, the kind of damage it would take to destroy this thing in your bag is probably the kind of damage that would hurt you as well, so you won't want to get hit by that. It has a carabiner on it, like most headphone cases do these days. I don't really know why they do, because I don't think anyone uses them, but it's there if you want it. And then this cool looking zipper and the V-Moda name and logo on the back. And actually the whole thing is a V-Moda logo, and there's also a little metal logo on there, just in case you missed who made it. On the inside, this one's orange. There are two versions of the headphone. The other one is red inside. It has these straps up here and there, which when you buy it, the cables will be in here. You can see up there's a black cable. The black cable is basically it's a sharing cable. Most headphone companies are doing this these days, which is basically just a cable with another jack in it so that you can plug someone else's headphone into it. I'm not really a fan of that, because it may mess with the amplifier depending on how powerful it is, what you plug into it, and so on and so forth. So I'm not really a fan of it, but it's popular, so they included one, and kudos to them for that. Then it comes with what you'd expect, an adapter, not one of the cheap, ridiculous looking standard ones. This one's actually kind of cool looking, but pretty standard. And then with an extra dust cover. Basically they are the headphone can connect the cable in both sides, and then you have those little black covers that you can plug into the side and you don't have the cable in, so you won't get any dirt in there. That I think is quite a handy little thing, because I am a cable maker and I know the kind of, just to put it straight, the kind of crap that people sometimes have in their headphones, just because, for example, if it's an open headphone and they've been, I don't know what they've been doing with them, sleeping with them or something, and then there's just dust and different stuff in there that shouldn't be there. Onto the headphone, or actually rather let's look at the cable before we go to that. The cable is an orange one, the other one comes with a red one to match the inside of the box on that one. It's a Kevlar covered cable, so it's bulletproof in case you get shot and you somehow manage to catch the bullet with this one. It's also, I'm guessing, proof to, I mean, it will hold up to pretty much anything. You could climb a wall with this one probably. Always good to know in case you need it. Then it has a one button control, which works with, of course, Android, and then iDevices as well. I would have preferred the one with volume up and down as well. I know they don't work with Android, but the middle button does. The middle button on Android does exactly the same thing as this one, but the difference is then if you plug it into an iDevice, you can then turn the volume up and down as well, and that would have been quite nice. But it's a decision on their part, obviously, because the the previous rendition of this headphone, the LP2, came with one with volume on it, and this one doesn't, so they apparently decided that wasn't a good idea. The microphone is then up here, which is a bit away from the button and a bit further up the cable, which is quite nice because then it won't pick up as much cable noise. And it's closer to your mouth, so it will be clearer, so that's quite nice. The jack up here is just a standard straight 3.5mm jack. However, in the other end, it's anything but standard. It is, in fact, at this point, by this time, quite well known 45-degree cable, jack rather, which I think is a really nice invention because, again, I'm a cable maker and I know the sort of trouble that people get in with their jacks because they are either straight and they need an angled one, or they're angled and they need a straight one. Basically the problem is that if you connect this to, say, your phone or your portable amplifier and then you throw it in your bag or in your pocket, whichever, let's say you have a straight plug and your phone then lies down in your pocket, so you have the side of your pocket up here, then this sticks out and then it just gets crammed against that, but because this is 45 degrees, then it gets crammed against it and just turns upward, no problem. Whereas the normal one would probably break in time. But on the other hand, if the phone is standing up, then if it was an angle plug, then you yank it upwards and break the plug again, but here you just yank upwards and then the cable goes upwards. Ridiculously tiny detail, and I almost can't believe that no one's done this before. Someone must have done it before because it's so simple, but it works so well you won't even believe it. I've never heard of one of these cables breaking, at least not at the plug or anywhere else for that matter, because it's wrapped in Kevlar. So very good cable, approved from me. But let's then get to the headphone. Here's where it gets really good. The headphone is built like an absolute tank. It's the hinges, as you can guess, to fit in this tiny thing, it needs to fold. The hinges here are made from, and let's fold like this by the way, the hinges down there are made from steel all the way through, the entire thing, as well as the actual arms that hold the headphones. Completely made of steel. That allows for two things. One, that it's very thin and sleek looking, instead of those stonking arm thick plastic things that you find on most DJ headphones. Apart from that, it's made of steel, it's going to hold up to basically anything. So you can go headbang as much as you want and throw these around, nothing will happen. Val Colson has done it on video on YouTube, I might actually mention, and they survived just fine. And apart from that, the shields here on the side are made of steel as well. And you can have those anodized in different colors, and when you order these from V-Moda themselves, you can have them with different textures and colors and all sorts of things, as well as different designs on them. And you can actually have custom-made designs as well. So basically, if you have any sort of logo, as long as the properties of it doesn't belong to someone else, and it's in a monochrome scheme, then you can send it to them and they'll print it on, actually laser etch it on the shields and send them to you. So that's pretty cool, I think. Actually one of the coolest design choices I've seen in a long time, with actual hi-fi headphones, which I'd say these are. Apart from that, you can take them apart with torque screws all over the place. The hinges, the shields themselves, and on the inside as well, you can take them apart if you want to do that. So you can probably get almost anything on them replaced. The other parts of them, this around the edges here, that's a very sturdy plastic. It is plastic, but it's a very strong one. The same goes for this up here. I think the shields on the side might be metal as well, but I'm not quite sure. They were on the old models. Then when we move on to the headband, it's a spring steel headband, as you get on most headphones nowadays, and then it's covered in a fake leather. The other version of this headphone comes with a denim cover up here with some red stitching. This one's just leather, and then with V-Moda's name up there. indented in the leather, and then on the inner side it has sort of a cloth mesh that rests against your head with a bit of padding inside. The pads themselves are also fake leather, fairly nice one, but still fake leather. I don't think it's memory foam though, because it just springs back when I push it down and doesn't actually stay there. And what that amounts to basically is, actually, speaking of the pads, they aren't comfortable for forever. You will know they're on your head because they put quite strong pressure on the ears. So you will need to move them around when you wear them, unless you have some magically shaped ears that just fit them perfectly. I can wear them for maybe, I don't know, an hour or so, and then I'll need to just move the headband maybe just a few millimeters so that it just doesn't create a hot spot, and maybe move the ear pads around a bit so I can cool down my ears and stuff like that. But so reasonably comfortable, what you might expect from well, this is made for DJing optimally, so it needs to isolate, and it does that fairly well. But that again means it puts quite a bit of pressure on your head. But reasonably comfortable, built like a tank. Absolutely love the physical aspect of this headphone. When we go into the sound, that's where it also gets interesting, because if you look at this headphone, it's a well-designed headphone. It's very cool looking, and usually with this sort of headphone, which was the case with the older versions of it, it's aimed at large consumer group, which means it's very heavy bass and not much to speak of in the mids, and then probably some sparkly highs, and that's just not optimal. I mean, it's fine if you're listening to low resolution pop music or something like that, but for anything beyond that, it just won't do. That's where Val Colton then decided, when he made the M100, which is the on-ear version, where he actually realized the entire Hoved-fi community might be a customer group, which it turned out it was. So he decided to tune his headphones to not only look good, but also sound good. So he went and actually added some hi-fi properties, so to speak, to the headphones. That means that these headphones have very good detail and also fairly well balanced sound. But balanced is relatively speaking, because they still have that meaty, strong bass that you might expect from a DJ headphone, but it's not overdone. It's just, it hits extremely hard and it's emphasized a little bit, but not extremely so, and it seems to be a fairly flat bass response, which means you won't get that mid bass hump. You'll get all the way down to the lows, and that's also very good. That's quite unusual with this sort of headphone. The mids and highs are both very good quality. They can get a tad overshadowed by the bass if you have a very strong bass track, but most of the time they will be just fine and easily audible. Very good quality. The highs, actually, these headphones are a bit dark sounding, and what that means is, for example, that the highs never get screechy. That also means that, again, the lower frequencies are a bit stronger than the higher frequencies, but that gives it a certain sound that makes them very easy to listen to. You'll never get listening fatigue, because they don't actually have that strong treble emphasis, so they don't tire your ears. That also means that they may not always present the detail retrieval as well as some headphones with emphasized highs do. But it is there. It's definitely a good amount of detail in this headphone. So, just to summarize, the actual sound signature: very strong bass, fairly neutral mids and highs. The highs a bit rolled off in the top, making it a bit dark sounding, but very pleasurable to listen to. Quite easy to listen to. The bass hits extremely hard. The others are quite standard. Can be a bit overpowering. With a very strong bass track, the bass may reverberate a bit, so you can definitely hear it's a closed headphone. Another thing about that is that, I mean, this headphone is sort of, I compared it to my reference for a portable headphone, which is the Biodynamic DT1350, and compared to that one, this one it has a much more in-your-face sound. It's very visceral. It's like, with the Biodynamic, it's much like a lot of the German headphones where the sound is out here, large soundstage and so on, very good detail. This one has a much smaller soundstage. It's a good soundstage, but it's very small. But that also means that you're more connected to the music. It's in your face. It's going on here. It's not something that's in a concert hall. It's right at your face, and that's quite a unique experience and something I really like. But personally, I prefer a bit more soundstage and detail, like I find on, for example, the DT1350. But overall, I'd say it's a very good headphone, very, very, very good in fact. One of the best portable headphones I know, and that's comparing to most models on the market at the moment. It's good for your average consumer, very good, but on top of that, it's also good for hi-fi interested people, because it has that amount of detail and it is that damn good. So basically this is one of the headphones I'd recommend to absolutely everyone.